take this one off my bucket list. Made it to Greg Jackson and Michael Wigglejohn and Jackson's MMA, but it's a different gym than your typical ma and pa sort of, hey, come in there and do aerobics and stuff like that. This is a gym where you either get made or you get broken.
That's very true. The gym is by design a very kind of Spartan, utilitarian place. It's not flashy, it's not fancy, and it's designed to get the job done and kind of focus you. Just kind of like Albuquerque is. It's designed to get the job done and focus you. It's a very high elevation here. The people are good. The land is very barren and tough, and everything's a cactus here, or a rabbit, or a coyote, or a shrub. You don't see a lot of flowery, beautiful trees, but they're all tough as nails.
Why do you think the fighters, athletes migrate here to come and see you? Tim Kennedy says he can't stand Albuquerque, but it's Greg and Mike are here. If they had it in Illinois, in Vermont, that's where I would go. John's like, look, Joe, it's the best. You've seen it now for the first time. You've been to TriStar, Joe. It's one of those things, but why do they come here?
I think it's the atmosphere. I think that the fighters create an atmosphere here, and the other coaches that the people want to be a part of. You know what I mean? It's a positive place. Win or lose, it's a nice place. It's a place where you can improve. The information is always cutting edge. We're always looking for new and better ways to do things. So you have this cutting edge information kind of coupled with this like all for one and one for all mentality. And I think those kind of put together make a great atmosphere. And I definitely think one of the reasons we've had such a low turnover and so many people kind of migrate from all over the world is that atmosphere, that connection between the correct information and people that, you know, they care about you.
When does it become too much, where there's too many people here, where it's like, if there's too many, you guys are gonna get hurt on the mat, like someone's gonna run into each other here? When do you cut it off?
The great thing about having a lot of people here is that it gives us opportunities that we wouldn't have before. I always look at things as, instead of a problem, how is this an opportunity? It's the same in fighting, right? So we used a lot of people coming down to again bring in more high-level coaches. The more high-level coaches we bring in, the more ideas that we're gonna get. So if we can always open another class, we can make things smaller, we can put it into weight classes, we can always get more room on the mats, because this facility is just for fighters. There's no public allowed here. So bringing in these new coaches, bringing more outside ideas, other influences, new techniques, that keeps us growing and healthy. So instead of saying, oh man, we're getting too big, it's a problem, we bring in more coaches and we get better and stronger. As long as there's strong leadership to keep everything cohesive, it's an actual situation that helps us improve, not the other way around.
It's a never-ending, ever-growing scenario for a person like yourself, where people are calling you the guru, the mad scientist, when in reality it's like, yes, I've got knowledge and wisdom, but I don't know anything really when you think about it.
I would even argue that I don't have much knowledge or wisdom, but I do enjoy what I do very much, and I've dedicated my life to trying to help out other people achieve their dreams, be it a coaching dream or a fighting dream. And that to me is very rewarding.
Talk about some of the challenges, and I mean this in a respectful manner. When a guy like you think about Diego Sanchez, Diego told me in Dallas, he's like, you watch, Joe. He goes, I'm not going to go out there and brawl like I did against Melendez. I'm going to keep everything in line. I'm going to do my kickboxing. And I said, dude, that's in your DNA. Like you're born to do this, and it's hard. You know what you should be doing. But once that drug enters your system,
right.
So I think he's a challenge for you. Mm-hmm. There's a few other guys when you think about it. How do you deal with that?
Well, that's the fun part. Like if it was all super easy, let's just say I came in and everybody just won all the time without any problem, I would be bored so quickly. I wouldn't be helping. So there's not much point to it. Like I'd probably find something else to do. The whole point for me is that it is challenging, that it is difficult, that it is hard to do all this stuff. That for me is why I do it, because my personality type is I need some kind of challenge. I need something to get up and try to figure out and problem solve and come at it this way and come at it that way and come at it this way. That's interesting to me. And for me, that's what life's about. So if everybody was like easy, super, no problems, I would be bored out of my mind real quick. I'd probably get into something else.
Then you got that high level Donald Cerrone, just unbelievable, the art that he has, and when he just his extension on his techniques, the timing. And then you got John Bones Jones, who realistically speaking hasn't hit his peak yet. If you look at the math of historical champions, he's not there yet. That's a different type of challenge, both guys.
It certainly is. Everybody has their own unique challenges, personality and technical wise, and so it's my job to kind of make sure that they're growing in all areas, and I do my best on that. The high level stuff to watch is as beautiful as it gets. It's as beautiful as any painting by Picasso or any piece of music by Bach. It's equally as beautiful. And so when you see that extension of their art, their moving art, it's a lot of fun to watch. And it's a great payoff for me, because as you work with them, and then you see them put it all together, it's a lot of fun.
So some guys called you mad scientist, dork, worst puns ever, terrible jokes, Yoda, leader, strategist. You hear the guys talking like this, and yet every one of them broke a smile every time, and they all paused, looked over, and then came back at me and gave us their description. And they were all complimentary, some of them more comedic, some of them more serious. The overall father figure, though, you're a father figure to some of these guys, more than just a coach. Is that a role that you thought that a while ago that you had to embrace and had to understand that this is what I bring to these guys, or just evolved?
I think it just evolved. I certainly just see myself as like I'm support. That's my job. So I have to figure out stuff. I mean, I have to try to help them as much as I can, but my underlying role is I try to support. I support their growth in the technical aspect. I support their mental growth as far as the toughness and understanding that you can become tougher than you are right now, that kind of stuff. But it's not a role that I didn't want to wake up and be a father figure, that's for sure. It's just kind of happened.
When do you drop these quotes on them? When they're on the mats, when they're getting changed?
Depends on when they need them. Sometimes it is on the mat. Sometimes it's when you're getting changed and you just remembered that you had a really bad day and that stuff's not going your way and I thought I was better than this and all these things that happen. So it's all timing. Timing is everything. If one thing that Lincoln, who was one of our presidents in the United States, really showed is that expert with timing. I tried to emulate his timing. He did the right things at the right time constantly, and that was pretty cool.
George St. Pierre injures himself again. Is that the straw that breaks the camel's back? Or, like I spoke with Rudolph, and Rudolph said, this guy's been through more adversity than you can possibly imagine. This is maybe something that he will challenge himself to come back. I can't even make sense of it all. I told everyone he's not going to come back, but he's training. What is your sense with George St. Pierre?
I think with George, he doesn't mind a challenge. It's never really bothered him. It gives him something to focus on. So I don't think it's going to be the end of his career at all. He's already retired anyway, so he's got time to rehab. I see he probably will come back. It would be my guess, an educated guess. I'm not saying it 100%, but if I know George, he might do another fight or two just to do it. But he's a guy that he's a warrior all the way, and he's a guy that likes challenges. And I think that if he's got to rehab a knee, then that's what he's got to do. If he's got to keep the belt, that's what he's got to do. If he's got to earn it back, that's what he's got to do.
Carlos Condit, obviously a horrendous injury there. He's not speaking of knee injuries. What is the latest on him? How is he doing?
Carlos is doing well. Of all people, George called me like right after that happened and said, listen, I know all the knee stuff to do, and I'll talk to Carlos and help out, and we broke it down together. And so it was really cool that George was right there for Carlos when Carlos got injured, that just the same exact way. And then now, of course, George is injured. Maybe they can rehab together, but that was really cool. This just says a lot about George St. Pierre, like who that guy is. And Carlos is probably one of the mentaliest, is that a word? Mentally, he's one of the toughest people I've ever met in my life. He's just a gamer. Like no matter what, he's just super tough. So he shrugs his shoulders like, now I got to rehab. Okay, that's what I do. So incredibly tough. Just everything the adversity that he's been through has been very impressive.
So you're transitioning to my next question, his fight with Rory McDonald in Vancouver. The adversity he overcame to defeat Rory, a young Rory McDonald, who's still young, in the third round, with seconds left in the third round. You talk about Rory McDonald now. In Canada, he's the next George St. Pierre, and I'm saying he's not ever going to be the next George St. Pierre. You can't do it. Is there too much pressure, you think, on a guy like Rory McDonald that people are putting on him to be the next George St. Pierre, the future champion in this division, and everything this guy's going through right now?
I'm sure that comes with the job. Like, that's what you have to do. And Rory's a smart guy. I'm sure he's dealing with it the right way. But, yeah, I mean, you can't say anybody's the next anything until they do it. So lay off him and let him prove it. You know what I mean? I think he can. I think he's a great fighter, and he certainly has the potential. But there's so many different things to being a champion. It's not just how well you fight, how well you deal with all the stuff outside the cage. honestly almost defines it more than what you do inside the cage. I mean, you have to be able to train and peak and do everything the right way, but in order to do that, your life outside the cage has to be some kind of normal, and that's the challenge that a lot of them can't get over.
Do you recall that fight? I'm not saying vividly, but do you recall the fight with Carlos and Rory, round by round, and getting into that third round, what he needed to do?
The second and third round is the only one I remember. I do a lot of fights, and the first one's good, but it was a good coaching moment because, you know, I thought we were behind on the cards, maybe not, but there was a good chance we were. And so just asking Carlos to kick it into that second gear and really get on this guy, and then having him do it and win. It's one of those Rocky deals that, you don't get to coach like that very often, where like this, you have this moment and then he goes out and he wins everything against a guy as tough and as amazing as Rory. It was a good night.
What about the anticipation that was building before the referee? It was Yves Levine that stopped the fight. It was getting closer and closer, and it was getting, we're at 4 minutes, we're at 4:30, we're at 4:35,
Right.
40. Oh, we're getting close to the end of the round. And
Right.
What was that like?
Well, that was at that point. I don't even remember if I looked at the time. I might have, but I do remember just got to egg them on. Just keep, just don't stop moving. Just keep going. And lucky enough, Carlos just kept firing until Yves stopped it. Thank goodness.